Last year, Jeff Bezos came into my restaurant and I had the opportunity to serve him, and he did not pay the bill. In fact, I was told that Jeff doesn't get the bill and that the bill will be delivered to his two security guards that sat at the bar and watched him eat. To which, of nobody's surprise, they left a 20% tip, which I'm always grateful for. You know, any tip is better than no tip. But it made me sick that that man could hand every single person in that restaurant $60 million dollars, and the next 27 generations of his family would still be able to not lift a pretty little finger and be able to survive. He was actually very nice and addressed me by my first name and was very respectful, remembered my name the whole time, and even Lauren was very sweet. But it just blew my mind that they rid themselves of the responsibility of knowing what the bill was, because then that way they kind of bypass me as a server being able to say, oh, well, Jeff didn't tip me, his security did. Like, and no tea, no shade, nice doesn't pay the bills. You know, I'm not ever expecting somebody to give more or anything at all. You know, it's truly, I feel grateful when people tip. My service was good. But for them to speak so highly to me, of me, Jeff and Lauren told me my smile was contagious. Like, they were very nice, which made it harder for me to kind of accept, like, you didn't even look at the bill and you rid yourself of that responsibility. And again, like, that compliment, unfortunately, doesn't get to be split between the 47 people that are working right now. And you could have really changed some lives in there, and it would have meant nothing to you. You wouldn't have even noticed the difference in your bank account. And yet you tipped the same amount that a hard-working person would if they liked their service on a regular Tuesday. Like, So yeah, just with everything I'm seeing, the millions of dollars that they're spending on this wedding and just the showboat that it is, it's quite pathetic that you couldn't even tip your server a little over 20%. Like, no joke. And I'm not saying that from an entitled place, but one time Steve Carell came into my restaurant, his bill was $400 and he left a $1,000 tip. Like, just because he has it and he understands the working class, you know? But it makes me quite sad for Bezos. And knowing he's a Capricorn as well kind of just solidifies the shadow of a Capricorn. And when they're not evolved, like, he is literally the richest man in the world and is still acting like the brokest one. Let that speak for itself. Even with this $50 million wedding, he's still acting like the brokest one. We've seen those wedding invites. And I'm just sharing my experience here because I really do think that people that have an unfathomable amount of money can really change the world and should change the world. You know, like, I have so many big visions of how I would help everyone and everything around me with that much money, and knowing he could but didn't was really disappointing. So I don't know. Please, Mr. Bezos, don't block me out of Prime. Unfortunately, I am a Prime user. Love what you've done there. Just don't really love everything else you're doing.
So you served Jeff Bezos at your restaurant. He was nice to you, smiled, remembered your name. His security guards paid the bill and left a standard 20% tip. And now you're on TikTok sounding like he left you with emotional debt and unresolved trauma? Ma'am. Let's start here. America's tipping culture is already out of hand. You've got minimum wage employees surviving off the moral guilt of customers who didn't ask to become part-time payroll managers. And somehow this has turned into, why didn't Jeff Bezos personally change my life with a $50K tip? Girl, please be serious. You said, he could have given everyone in the restaurant $60 million and not felt it. What in the GoFundMe astrology delusion is this? You do realize that 60 million multiplied by 47 employees is almost $3 billion, right? You're out here calculating reparations like Jeff is supposed to be your financial savior because he complimented your smile. Newsflash, that compliment was free, just like your sense of math. And this part killed me. They rid themselves of the responsibility of even knowing what the bill was. Sis. He's not dodging responsibility, he's dodging the nonsense. He's Jeff Bezos. He's not fumbling in his wallet counting change like it's the last day before rent. You think he's supposed to look you dead in the eyes, hand you a crisp $100 bill, and whisper, "Go build generational wealth"? You were serving breadsticks, not unlocking divine inheritance. But of course, you said no tea, no shade right before brewing a full pot of both and pouring it on his $50 million wedding. Like, you really tried to hit us with they were kind, sweet, respectful, and complimented me the whole time, but also they're demons for not handing me a down payment on a condo. Ma'am, which one is it? You can't say he's lovely, then drop a passive-aggressive Yelp review for the richest man alive because he didn't make it rain on your shift. And then you compare him to Steve Carroll. Steve Carroll tipped me $1,000 on a $400 bill. That's great, love that. But did Steve Carroll create Amazon? Is Steve Carroll your new metric for human decency? So now tipping is a competition between celebrities? What's next, an influencer leaderboard? Kylie Jenner left $600, let's clap. Like this is some billionaire Hunger Games. Then my favorite part, quoting, he's a Capricorn, and this is just classic Capricorn shadow behavior. Oh my God, we're doing astrology now? You just went from eat the rich to Mercury in retrograde made him stingy. At this point, you're not mad at Jeff, you're mad at Saturn. Girl, take that up with your birth chart. And let's not ignore the real vibe here. Entitlement in a nice outfit. You're not talking about fairness. You're not talking about wage justice. You're mad your brush with money didn't turn into a Cinderella moment. This ain't Disney. You don't get a pumpkin carriage because you served water with lemon. And the line, nice doesn't pay the bills? Well, neither does a TikTok tantrum because your billionaire customer didn't slide you equity. Listen, should billionaires be taxed more? Yes. Should workers be paid a livable wage so tips are bonuses, not lifelines? Absolutely. But your issue isn't with capitalism. Your issue is with not being personally chosen for a rich person miracle. You made it sound like Bezos ghosted you after promising to co-sign your student loans, but all he did was eat food and leave. That's not evil, that's dinner. And the way you wrapped it up with, please, Mr. Bezos, don't block me from Prime? Girl, you dragged this man for 3 straight minutes and then begged to keep your 2-day shipping. If Irony had a loyalty program, you'd be Platinum Elite. You're not oppressed, you're just disappointed your billionaire encounter didn't come with confetti and a check. And instead of aiming your energy at the broken system that made you rely on tips for survival, you went viral begging for trickle-down blessings from the man who gave us same-day delivery. You want wealth redistribution? Cool. Start by blaming the people who made tipping your paycheck, not the guy who didn't tip extra. So yeah, let this one simmer. Jeff Bezos may be many things, but broke? That's you projecting. And if you want your bills paid, the solution isn't shaming rich people on TikTok. It's unionizing. It's voting. It's getting mad at lawmakers, not lunch guests. Or, keep crying on the internet about the billionaire who smiled at you instead of adopting you. Either way, Prime still renews next month. Enjoy the shipping.